Over the years, I think it is fair to say that Tony Robbins, or Tony Robbins, has been one of the most influential figures both in the world of business and in the world of personal development in general. Actually, long before I was starting to build a business by myself, I was following a lot of his teachings and applied them for myself, and my life completely changed even when I was just 19, 20 years old. Yeah, my weight was 100 kilos back then. I was not really a happy person, you could say, far from that. And I was just criticizing and blaming everybody. I was always finding something negative in the world, no matter what was happening. And someday I stumbled upon the book Unlimited Power by Tony Robbins, and it really literally changed my life, just applying like 60% of the book. I did not even apply the whole book, but just like the 60% on all the things about energy levels, internal states, understanding your inner voice, your visual imagery, how you eat. I just applied like 60% around of what he said, and my life completely changed and my energy level doubled. I was able to sleep less, to provide more, to produce more, whatever. Now, whenever I hear people saying, oh yeah, Tony Robbins, he worked before but it doesn't work anymore, or like, oh, it doesn't really work, I'm like, did you at least try? Or when they are like, oh, no way he can stand on the stage for so long without taking cocaine. I'm like, did you at least try what he's teaching? Because I tried, and I can honestly say it changed my life. So maybe before criticizing, you can just give it a try, you know? After spending the last 10 years applying all those teachings, I will give you here the 3 most important things I got from him that completely changed my life. Number 1, always master your internal state.
First of all, if you look at a business, the chokehold on the growth of any business is always the psychology and the skill set of the leader. And it's 80% psychology and 20% mechanics. People are not one way. We are a reflection of the states we're living in. When you're in a frustrated state, an overwhelmed state, a tired state, your brain processes completely differently than if you're in a passionate state, whether you're feeling determined, whether you're feeling committed, whether you feel completely resolved.
And I cannot express how true I think this is, coming from experience. Again, when I say people don't know what they're talking about when they criticize him without having even tried his methods. When I was very young and I just read that book and understood those principles about internal state, how do you feel inside will impact how you think the world is going to end and what is going to happen during your future, during your days. When I was reading that book the first time, I was in college, I was stressing the hell out for my exams. I had been passing the exams, and I was waiting for the final notes to know if I would graduate or not. And I was always angry about, oh, I'm sure those nasty professors, they will try to make me fail like everybody else. And in the end, I read the book and I figured out the only sensation of anger I have is coming just from the images I was making in my mind from people being bad with me. When I started shifting those pictures in the way he's describing, I just stopped feeling angry and mad and bad with everybody, and I just, in the end, passed the exam with a very high grade. So internal states, in my opinion, is the strongest aspect you can control and you can develop into yourself. Whenever you will hear about dopamine detox, being more productive, achieving more productivity tips, and being more confident, all of those things just come down to how you feel inside. And when you can alter how you feel inside in a positive way, then the world is yours.
So I wire myself. I was saying to you that most people want to be happy, but their habit is to be worried or pissed off or frustrated or stressed. And so they've got a highway to stress and they got a dirt road to happiness. I get frustrated, I get angry, I get all those things. I just don't stay there. I mean, I used to be there for a month or two. I used to live in depression. Environment. We think we're just feeling what we're feeling, but our environment, if we don't take control of our environment, it takes control of us.
So the goal here is kind of self-conditioning. Conditioning yourself to feel more often the states you want to feel and develop, and being able to get rid as much as possible of the states that are disempowering you. Because even something really negative that needs to be felt, like processing guilt when you have done something wrong, or processing sadness when you have lost somebody, for example, obviously those things need to be processed for sure. However, what I figured out over the last 10 years is that even if some really bad things happen in the world, guess what? If you are in a very empowered and positive state, you will recover faster from those things. It doesn't mean they won't happen and you won't feel them and you will be like a robot, never feeling anything negative, but you will recover faster, and if there is a solution to find about the problem you have to deal with at hand, you will find it way faster too.
So learning to change the leader's state, learning how to change your own state. Because, you know, people, one of the silliest questions I get asked is, you're not really that happy, are you? You have bad days, don't you? Of course I have, you know, bad times. But I don't have bad days anymore, and it's not BS. It's because I've trained myself like an athlete to go in these peak states so often that they're just natural for me. It's like building a muscle.
And when I built my business in the beginning, I did that process all the time. This thing of putting yourself in the right physiology, like jumping from the ground and doing some like chest opening, some movement. I was putting myself in that state every day before starting the tasks of the day, and I was always ending them faster. I was much more motivated. I was much less worrying about, oh, what if it doesn't work? So this whole thing may appear oversimplified, because sometimes when people have had a problem for over years and years and years, they think that the solution to their problem must be overly complex. But quality does not equal complexity. Something may have been taking a very long time and maybe very simple to solve. So just because you have been enduring a negative situation for 10, 20 years, even more, doesn't mean that just a simple internal state change can not solve it right away, or at least improve the condition you are into right now.
The state of the union, the state of the company, is the culture. And the culture starts at the head. Whoever that leader is, their state impacts everybody else. So training yourself to be in that peak state is the key to it all.
Number 2, clarifying your goals and values. Obviously, everybody knows that you have to set goals, that's for sure. However, there is a process in that book that is going way deeper into what do you want and why do you want it. Many people are just goals chasers. They are chasing the next goal and the next goal and the next goal, but they just feel empty and dead inside. What I learned from Tony Robbins was to better evaluate what I was going after deep inside. Not just the goals, but what were my deepest values? What had been ongoing from the day I was born or close to, from when I was a kid? What has been the biggest values that kept coming again and again throughout my life? And when you base life goals on those big values, then first of all, the motivation comes quickly right away, and you don't feel as much like a failure or like an imposter, because you're following some personal trait instead of trying to emulate somebody else.
Because your values control what you focus on. If you're security driven and you're here down in my basement right now, you're like, where's the exit, right? You came down a slide, like, how do I get out of here, right? If you're adventure driven, you don't care. You don't even know where it is. So your focus is controlled by your values and your belief systems. All of a sudden you start doing better than you dreamed of. You work harder, you get some breakthroughs, you get some insights, and now emotionally, psychologically, financially, physically, your career, whatever, goes from 68 degrees to 78, to 88, to 90, 99 degrees, around 99 degrees, something happens in your brain, goes, hey, what are you doing? You're at 68 degree, or what are you doing here at 99? You don't belong here. And then what happens? The heaters of drive stop. And if that's not enough, the air conditioners kick in, you start saying things that mess up the relationship. You start sabotaging things in the business. You start sleeping in until you get right back to where you need to be at 68 degrees. And let's use 68 degrees as the metaphor, not for your goals in life, but your comfort zone, which is your identity, right? You might have these huge goals. I want to be this, but have you ever said, I'm going to go do this? And then some voice inside your head says, who are you kidding, right? The who are you kidding is, that's a big reach beyond who you are in the mind, in your mind at that time. So say 68 degrees represents where you're comfortable financially, not where you want to be, but what you're used to, your current identity. You might say, I want to be financially free, but you're financially struggling, and that's your identity.
And there was a point for sure where I was taking action again and again and moving forward, but I was completely lost about why I was doing this at this moment. Why did I keep doing the same thing over and over again? A lot of entrepreneurs are going through that phase where at some point they want to reach the next income level or the next level in business, but they just feel stuck and they don't really understand what needs to be done to get to the next step, and they just plateau. But there doesn't seem to be any solution for them. Like, they know the marketing techniques, they know the business books and the Jay Abraham and Warren Buffett and all those people, but it seems like there is nothing really clear for them specifically at this moment. And when that happens, it is I think almost every time, if not actually every time, because there is some identity conflict, which means the next level you want is disconnected from the person you are. And unless you change who you are from the inside, then you're never going to find the solutions or the motivation or to overcome the procrastination to get to the next level.
But it was really the drop in identity, because once it's your identity, you find the way. This subject, being able to differentiate between having a certain feeling or acting a certain way and being that kind of person is huge. And once that's who you are, that behavior is going to be consistent.
That's why clarifying this whole stuff about the values is so important. What have been the best moments of your life from the day you were born, the best moments, and what do they all have in common? What are the single most important thing that kept coming back every time you had a very joyful experience? And when you define goals, business goals or life goals, whatever, that are matching, that are linked with those things that kept making you happy during your whole life, then everything will be fine. It may take a few months before you accomplish your goals, but it will be fine. However, if you just try to run after the next success goal for the sake of running after the next success goal, it's probably never gonna work. Number 3, modeling behaviors. Now, I am pretty big on NLP modeling, and you can find many videos on this channel about how it works and how do you take somebody's mind and apply what he does to yourself, for yourself in your own life. The topic of modeling is pretty wide and big, and I don't want to get too much into the details right here because it would be too long. Just to know that indeed it first came to me from that book again, from Unlimited Power, the fact that you can actually take from somebody's mind what he's doing and replicate it for yourself. For example, one thing he gives is a strategy that he or somebody else modeled from athletes. How do they condition themselves to become better? And instead of just trying to fake it till you make it, which I think is an over BS concept, to say the least, this is more complex than just fake it till you make it. For example, here he's giving an actual procedure of how does it work. Here, you first watch the person you want to emulate, you watch visually, visual external, then you repeat the same motions as much as you can repeat, and obviously you won't have the same result, but you just try to imitate physically the person you see, and then you imitate until you have some feeling inside, connecting the external world with your own internal map of the world. Then you visualize internally that person you watched so that you build the internal representation of what it looks like to be at that level. Then you visualize yourself doing exactly the same thing. So obviously you are not at that level, but you can put your image into your mental imagery on what it looks like to be at that level of skills in your desired field of competence. And then you step inside that image, that version of yourself who has all the skills, the skill set and the abilities. You step into that version of yourself and you feel once again to integrate the whole thing. And then you repeat in the real world, potentially by recording yourself if you can, to notice your changes, your movements. Every time I did that process, literally every time, my progress doubled in whatever I did, and I mastered many skills over the years. I have been a magician, I have been singing, I have been into fighting sports. Many different things I have mastered and developed over the years, and I'm using processes like this one all the time. And it always helps to double down your progress and to make you learn faster. So whenever you are in presence of a really skilled person, an incredibly skillful person, just notice from his language or the way he moves his eyes, what is he doing internally. And if you want to learn more about this, there are many videos on my channel about NLP modeling. Just pay attention to what the person is doing, so how do they behave, much more than what they think they do. Because quite often experts say something but do something else, because they don't always have all the understanding of what they do internally and consciously. If you want to learn more about mindset stuff and about how to grow your business and all that stuff, you can check in the description. There is a link just ready for you.